3.3. Now we're going to start diving deeper into some things. When we do that, we use our brains, but what piece of hardware is the brain in a computer? CPU, which stands for? Central Processing Unit. You've probably met a few humans in your day, and some people process information differently, right? Computer CPUs, there are different ways that they can execute or handle instructions. With me so far? Those two ways are RISC and CISC. RISC is Reduced Instruction Set Computer. The older one is CISC, Complex Instruction Set Computer. So think about making, what's your favorite dish that you cook at home in an oven? Say spaghetti?
In an oven. I didn't hear the oven part.
In an oven.
You said spaghetti in the oven.
Sure, you know what? You said spaghetti. Let's go with spaghetti. Okay, everybody with me, right? So that's kind of a complex thing, right? Or set of instructions. CISC, complex, right? You have to preheat the oven, bake it in the oven, have it cool down, right? A few steps plus a lot more in between, right? So when we're thinking about CPUs and CISC, it's complex instructions. It may not get done in one CPU clock cycle. It may take several clock cycles to get it done. Hoo-yah? Versus RISC, reduced set instructions. Those are simpler instructions that will get done in a CPU clock set. But those instructions are simpler. They're not complex. That would be like instead of an oven, a microwave, right? You just take your Stouffer's spaghetti and meatballs or whatever, and boom, you hit a button on there. Does that kind of make sense to everyone? Now, one of the first devices came out, I believe, in 2001. Was the first iPhone had RISC. And it depends on which case you're going to use it for, but most of them are RISC these days. Hoo-yah? ARM processors are RISC. Oh, is it 2000? Oh, 2007, wasn't it? 2001 was the iPod. 2007, I think, was the iPhone. Yeah.
So is RISC just taking the same command but just kind of simplifying it?
Different instructions. Think complex instructions, simple instructions. Think stand up, turn left, go this way, right? Each one of those simple, you do that, and it's done, right? Complex would be like, hey, go to the back and grab that. Okay, I've got to stand up, I've got to do this. It's going to take me longer. It's more complex. It's going to take me longer to complete. Good? So here, right, the main thing is the CPU clock cycle. CISC isn't going to be completed in one clock cycle. It's complex. It'll get it done, but it's just going to take longer clock cycles. RISC, simple, easy, but it's going to take more of those instructions to get done. But each one of those smaller instructions are going to get done in each CPU clock cycle. Easy day? All right. Well, CPU, ooh, what kind of form factor is that CPU right there? PGA, the pins are on the processor, and it's inserted using ZIF, which stands for Zero Insertion Force. Fantastic. All right, so just like you, before class, you probably drink a Monster, drink some coffee, right? You enhance your brain in such a natural way. Probably not, right? Well, CPUs, we can make them operate faster. And that is called, anyone? Overclocking. How does that work, right? Well, we increase the electricity, the frequency, right? So that clock speed, instead of if you're normally like this, that's your clock speed. You drink a Monster, boom. Can you do that forever, though? No. What happens? You're gonna crash, right? Same thing for your computer components. You can overclock them, but they're going to produce more heat, right? So what does that do to the lifespan of that component? Shortens it, right? And as it gets towards the end of its lifespan, it's going to become less efficient, right? So it's a trade-off, right? What am I doing? I'm overclocking. Oh, this is great. But you're shortening the lifespan. Now, on your phone plans, have you ever noticed that your phone starts to go slower? Yes. Or use less data, your speeds. What do they call that? throttling, right? Because you've used too much data. So same thing for your CPU. If your CPU gets too hot, right, is it going to allow you to overclock still or operate normally? It's going to start to slow down. Just like you, right? You're drinking Monsters, going, but before you crash, what's happening? You're slowing down, right? Because you can't operate at that efficiency. It's doing that to protect the device. And your computer may even turn off if it overheats, right? Your CPU, etc. It's going to first slow it down because to produce less heat. Does that make sense, everyone? We've got throttling and overclocking. Now, different companies have different terms as well. Well, we've already talked about let's talk about that first. One of the smallest pieces of code is a thread. AMD has what's called hyper-threading. This allows your CPU to act as if there are multiple CPUs or two CPUs. It can handle multiple threads or pieces of code at once. And there's also, what is in between the CPU and the North Bridge? What do we call that right there? The front side bus. AMD, I believe it's AMD. AMD has something called hyper transport, not hyper thread, but hyper transport. Pass it behind you. And that is a different kind of thing other than the front side bus, but it enhances that CPU speed by being more efficient. It's that connection between the CPU and the North Bridge. AMD has that hyper transport, not hyper threading to act as if multiple CPUs, but hyper transport to have a more efficient way between the CPU and the North Bridge. And it has less latency or the time to get in between. Questions? So we talked about throttling, overclocking, hyper threading, and hyper transport. Two of them were AMD specific. Who ya? All right. How many brains? Jackson, how many brains you got? One. He's got one brain. That works pretty well for humans, right? What do we call the brain in a computer? CPU. So we have a CPU. Now, back in the day, they came out with a way to put two brains in a computer. And on the motherboard, there'd be two physical sockets for the CPUs. To have two CPUs in there, that's so much better, right? Imagine if you had two brains, how much more you could do. So what do we call a computer with two CPUs? Multi-core, you would think, right? But what happens is it's one physical CPU, but there are multiple cores. All right? So 2 cores would be dual core. 4 cores would be quad core. You have one with 3 cores as well, but really that's a quad core with 1 core disabled. And you've got more cores than that as well. So that allows you to handle more instructions. This kind of changed before, right? Let's say you had a single core CPU that operated at let's say 2 gigahertz. And you had a dual core that operated at 1.7 gigahertz. Which one's going to be faster? The dual core, right? It doesn't quite make sense though, right? Because, this one's 2 gigahertz, but that's one brain. But if I've got 2 brains and each of them operates at 1.7, that's still going to be faster. There you go.
Because it's kind of splitting up the load.
Correct, splitting up the load, right? Some's going to go here, some's going to go here. Does that make sense? Now, since we're kind of talking about CPUs, you've probably heard of like Intel's i5, i7, i9 chips. So really in the manufacturing process, what's happening is they're making i9s, the top of the line. But then the quality of those chips, there's a curve, right? So if it's within the lower standard, it's going to be an i3, medium range, i5. The top of the quality is going to be i9. Who ya? Awesome. Questions, comments, concerns? Right here, Tucker.
So I recently got a computer. It's the i9 Ultra. What does the Ultra stand for? Processors?
I don't know. Marketing, yeah. It's marketing, right? So it's probably in that i9, but it's the top of the i9 there. Or we had to get into that specific manufacturers, what they're doing. Yeah.
So would that be the same for like AMD, like for the Ryzen
Yep, same thing, right? They're not specific, usually they're not making specific different products or too many of them. It's just, oh, the different quality is the different in the manufacturing process. Yeah.
So AMD has that line, called the Threadripper.
Yeah.
What would that fall under in terms of processors?
Like hyper-threading.
Okay.
To be able to.
Kind of.
Yeah. So each core of the CPU can handle multiple threads at once. Right here. We'd have to get really specific with that. That work? Yeah. Let's put that to the side for now. Let's get through more of the we're kind of getting into the medium stuff, and when we get to later chapters, the end of this stuff, then that might become more relevant. That's right. Jackson.
Question. What would an octa-core be, like an octa-core be used for?
An octopus has how many legs?
8, but that's what I'm saying. But like,
So octa-core would be,
there's 8 cores, but like, what would that be used for?
they're becoming more and more common, right? Because the more cores you have, the faster your computer's going to operate. So think about cars, right? We were talking about cars before.
Like F1s and stuff like that.
How turbos are becoming more common, right? But then how much oil you put in it is less, right? Because it's a turbo. Same thing, right? So instead of having a 2 gigahertz or 3 gigahertz, you might have like a 1.1, 1.1, right? But if these are 1.7, an octa-core versus a dual core is going to be a lot faster.
That's just crazy.
Easy day? All right, scrolling down. The next thing that I want to talk about is a little bit of security. In memory, back in the day, for gaming, memory was always in the same locations. And you get like extra lives in video games by knowing those memory locations. So in the boot process, it tries to do different things, etc. But you want to protect certain things while they're in memory, like operating system, files, etc. So there is something called the NX disable bit, or the execute disable bit. So the NX bit. Another name for that is execute disable bit. So that's going to be where we can protect certain areas of memory that have the operating system files. So that way they don't have access to these other things, right? In memory is going to be able to make sure that those files can't be altered with, tampered with, deleted by malware, by viruses, etc. Does that kind of make sense to everyone? So these files are important, right? So in memory, we've got to have a safe place while that's in memory. And we'll get into how this really works later on in a later chapter when we bring it up again. Question?
No question.
No question. NX bit, which stands for, or we can say is, execute disable bit. Because our operating system files, right, that's in storage. Of course, that's got to be loaded into memory when we're booting up. Well, we don't want an attacker, right, to have full access to memory. We want certain things, right, to be isolated, to be certainly protected that no one can tamper with. Does that make sense, Miley Cyrus? Why are you laughing? That's not your name?
No.
Why can't I tell? Because, right, it's in his core, right? You can't tell me, right, that that's not what my name is. I know what my name is. Make sense?
Sure do.
Probably a different example, but Grace wants to be called Miley Cyrus now. We'll just call him Hannah Montana instead. All right, everyone good? All right, we'll slow down some basic stuff, and then we'll ramp back up when we talk about RAID. So here we have a case fan. Is this active or passive cooling? Active cooling. That draws in cool air. That air goes over the warm components, gets warmed up, and that hot air gets expelled out of the case. Next, we have the CPU heatsink. Is this active or passive? Passive. Passive. Now, we see that power cable. If there's a fan on there, then it would be active. We know the more surface area, the more blades of metal that helps dissipate, right, or spread out that heat. away from the components. Now, what goes between the CPU heatsink and the CPU? Thermal paste, thermal compound. Very good. All right, next we have the CPU fan, I believe. And is the CPU fan active or passive? Active, very good, right? So that CPU heatsink, that's passive, that's drawing air up towards the CPU fan, right? Because heat rises. And that CPU fan helps push away that hot air, right? That heat sink drew up. And next here we have a graphics card cooling system. Now, this may require additional power. How many pins may this require? 6 to 8. Very good. Next we have a water cooling system. Can use water, can use other things. You'll need specialized components for this. A motherboard, CPU, etc. You want to make sure it's watertight, that nothing gets broken. This is very efficient, but it's also very expensive and definitely probably not a need for most people. Hoo-ya? Ready for a quiz? Yes. What is a hardware feature supported by AMD and Intel that enables a single processor to act as multiprocessors? This is hyper-threading, right? Remember that smallest piece of code, right? It can handle those. What comprises of multiple pieces of code executed simultaneously in a CPU? Or was this hyper-threading? CPU virtualization, I'm hearing. What's a technique used when the processors run at less than the rated speed to conserve power and produce less heat? Throttling. That's an easy one. What's a high-speed connection between the CPU and the North Bridge? Hypertransport. Used by a very fast CPU that produces more heat than can be dispelled. Water cooling. I heard water cooling. Technique used to make a processor work at faster speed than original specification. Overclocking. Let's hit show feedback. Let's see what we got wrong. Was it the first two? Close. See if we hit close, it'll show us the right one. Show feedback. Oh, maybe not. Okay. So hyper-threading, multiple pieces of code executed simultaneously. Hyper-transport, we got that correct, right? Between the CPU and the North Bridge. Overclocking, make it faster than its specification. Throttling is less than. Virtualization, this enables a single processor to act as multiple. And water cooling produces more heat than can be dispelled. Which ones did we get? What did we get wrong? Okay. Well, that's on me. Oh, there you go. Show correct answer. That would have fixed it. All right, easy day. Questions, comments, concerns? Okay, next. What do we already know? We're going to learn about RAID. Does anyone remember what RAID stands for? Redundant array of independent disks. The key word in that is redundancy, R. So now in the course it wants to see what we already know without learning anything. So we're going to look at each scenario and then we'll select an option. So a user is concerned that failure of a hard disk drive will cause loss of important data. Is that, so if we click that, economy, redundancy, performance, reliability, availability, or capacity? Reliability. Next, a manager wants to be sure that employees can access the data when they need. I'm hearing availability. Don't see accessibility up there. So availability, I heard. Hard disk data transfer rates have been identified as the cause of work delays. Performance. A small business has recently grown and is running out of storage space. Capacity. A company is shopping for larger hard disk drives and finds them to be too expensive. Economy. Corrupted data has been causing problems with applications. All right, sounds like reliability has the most. We think it's redundancy? Raise your hand for economy. Raise your hand for redundancy. Raise your hand for performance. Raise your hand for reliability. Oh, reliability wins it. Not right. Hit close. The correct answer for that last one is reliability. The first one is redundancy. Loss of data, right? Let's say Chavez. What do y'all say? Corey Boo or Corey Love for your Corey Love. All right, let's say Chavez. His Corey Love gets orders and they're gone. But then he's all alone, right? He lost them, right? No redundancy, no backup, right? Does that make sense? Redundancy means backup. How are we feeling? Good, right here. Yeah, that's fine. Everyone good? All right, so RAID. RAID stands for what? Redundant array of independent disks. Redundancy is what? Backup, right? A redundant, having a backup. Hoo-yah? All right, so we're going to learn about some terms. But first, I want to do a demonstration with 2 volunteers so we can kind of get the idea for redundancy. Two people, come on up. I need a volunteer with a stopwatch. I got one person. I got one stopwatch. Cerna, you want to be the timer?
Sure.
Okay. All right, Cerna. We're gonna start with Cerna. Okay. Here, coming up. We're gonna use you in a second. Cerna, put one arm behind your back. I want you to move one at a time. This page from here to here. Here, stand up in the front. Stand up behind them. And once he says go, he's gonna time you. Okay. One at a time. So what we're doing here is we're mimicking hard drive, right? Writing data from one location to another, right? We're writing the file onto the drive, one at a time. Pretty efficient, right? So he is the one hard drive. If you've got one hard drive, this is what's happening. It's time. 3416. All right, now if we've got 2 hard drives, so now we're going to have both of them. So both of you guys come on up. One arm behind the back. One at a time. Move one paper here. You move the next paper here. We'll have 2 hard drives, right? We'll write it into 2 places. Whenever you're ready. So now we have 2 hard drives writing a file not to 1 hard drive, but to 2 hard drives. Yeah, some data corruption. Time. 22. Was that faster? All right, round of applause. Go ahead, take your seats, everybody. All right, so RAID stands for redundant array of independent disks. Redundancy means backup, right? But it's not just having a backup. There's also another advantage to RAID, which we tried to demonstrate here, which is speed, right? So it can also be faster, right? If I've got 2 hard drives, boom, my write speeds are going to be a lot faster because I'm putting it in 2 spots. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Good? Okay. For RAID, to get into RAID deeper, to understand the different RAID levels, we first have to define several terms. The first term we're going to define is striping. So let's take a step back. Let's say on day one, you opened up Microsoft Word or some file and you saved your notes. If this is my hard drive, let's say you created a document called ITE, IT Essentials. That's going to go right here. You did that, you feel pretty good about yourself, and then you decide to listen to some music or download a movie. What do you want to download?
Music.
Drake. So you download Drake. Right? Well, that's probably logically going to go in the next available space in the hard drive, right? Yes. Well, then the next day, you come to class, you write some more notes, and then you type them up. Where is that going to go on the hard drive? Well, the next available space, right? But is that right next to the other file? No, right? And then you do some more, right? You download something else. Sure, Twilight, Breaking Dawn, or whatever it's called. Then you save again, right? The file naturally becomes what's called fragmented. It becomes spread out in different locations on that hard drive. It's not in sequence. With me? We'll learn later about a tool called disk defrag or disk optimizer, which will put it all back in sequential order. But for us, it's good for now to know that files can be written in different locations on drives. With me? Okay, so the first term we're going to learn is called striping. So striping. Let's say I've got two drives. What that'll do is it'll write the data across the two drives. Here, and maybe it'll put it somewhere else on here. Now this isn't very redundant, but what this is fast. Right? That's like our example up here. We're not going to have redundancy. We're just going to put half the file here, half the file here, but it was fast. Striping is fast. If we lose a hard drive, we lose all this data because we can't build it. Coffee.
Does RAID only work with hard drives, or can it work with like SSDs and stuff?
Storage.
Just any storage you can do RAID?
Storage, yep.
Wouldn't that make it harder to find the data?
No. Because really it's got, at the beginning of any file, the first part is where on the hard drive or where on the storage device is it located to find it. So it's just, oh, go here, go here, go here. With hard disk drives, the more fragmented it becomes, it does go slower, but your write speeds will be a lot faster.
What exactly was your definition of redundant again?
Backup. Having a backup Boo. Having a backup Corey Love. You've got two eyes. If you lose one, can you still see? You can. You just may have some depth issues. Striping. Everybody with me on striping? We're writing the data to two different drives like we did in that example. Good? All right. Next, mirroring. I've got a hard drive. Whatever I write onto that hard drive will be mirrored exactly onto the other hard drive. Just like you, when you look in the mirror, what do you see?
A ray of sunshine.
You see a ray of sunshine. All right. Right? It's an exact copy. It's just inverted, right? So mirroring, right? Whatever's here is here. So this one's not about speed. This one's about redundancy, right? What's the R in RAID stand for? Redundancy. And what does RAID stand for?
Redundant array of independent disks.
Bingo. Redundant array of independent disks. All right. Parity. We've heard this word before. This is talking about what? Error detection, right? So parity, when it's writing the data, I should probably write mirroring up here. When you write the data, it can detect if there's errors. That is parity. Now, it does this in a way that's not going to affect the read and the write speeds. It does the error checking, what's called the checksum. It does that, no, you're nah. It does it separately, right? It checks that error separately, so it still doesn't affect those speeds. So we can reconstruct data if it's lost, but doesn't affect speed, capacity, like mirroring does. If I've got let's go back to mirroring. If I've got a 100 gig hard drive here and a 100 gig hard drive here, how much total storage do I have? 200. But do I have all 200 available with mirroring? No, right? Because it's half, right? Because it's doubled. It's mirrored. Grace.
Is this related to the ECC or is that for the data?
Similar, right? It's error checking. With ECC, we got a little bit more in depth, right? With it can detect multiple bit errors, but it can correct single bit errors.
So if you have 200 gigs for the mirroring, is striping, we still have like the full 200?
Correct.
Okay.
So parity, with parity, we can rebuild some of the lost data. Double parity, it has different algorithms, right? Double parity allows you to be able to recover if 2 hard drives fail. But we're going to get into the different RAID levels. But we've got to know these terms first. We need more time to write? Yeah? Okay. MA went to the meeting. Oh, Dad. All right, now let's go over the different RAID levels now that we've defined the terms that we're going to use to describe them. So we've got different RAID levels: RAID 0, RAID 1, RAID 5, RAID 6, 0 plus 1. Chief, could you scroll down for me? Here we are. So I would write all of this down. Make note cards, flashcards, etc. So you need to know the RAID level. How many drives you need. What the features are, right? Like striping, mirroring, parity, double parity, etc. And the advantages and the disadvantages. So while you're writing, we'll talk about it. RAID 0 is striping. 0 is just striping. You need at least 2 drives, right? RAID stands for redundant array of independent disks. In order to have RAID, you need to have at least 2 hard drives or 2 storage devices. So RAID 0 is striping. The advantage, performance, right? Striping, we already talked about, is for speed. And Coffee alluded to capacity as well, right? If I've got a 100 gigabyte hard drive and another 100 gigabyte hard drive, my total capacity is 200. I have 200 gigs of available storage. Versus with mirroring, if I had a 100 gig hard drive and a 100 gig hard drive, how many gigs would I have? Only 100 because it's duplicated. We have half of the total capacity. Disadvantage of striping. If I lose a hard drive, what happens? All the data is gone. Just like if you only had one hard drive and you lost it, you lost all the data. All right, with mirroring, what kind of number does this look like here? 1. It looks like 1. RAID 1 is mirroring. You need at least 2 drives, right? If you look in the mirror, how many of there are you? 2, right? You need 2 hard drives. Advantages, reliability. Disadvantage, well, we talked about it already. Our capacity is half of our total. If I've got 100 and 100, that equals 200, but I can only use 100 because it's mirrored. It's the exact same on the other side. RAID 5. This is striping, or RAID 0, with parity. So striping, right, that's faster. And now that we have parity on, it's reliable as well. And because we're doing striping, our capacity is also better. Now, because we have striping with parity, now if one drive fails, we can rebuild that data. It takes time, but we can rebuild it. The key difference here is RAID 5 needs at least 3 hard drives. So you've got 1, 2, 3 hard drives. We're striping, right? We're writing the data in different locations, and then we're rebuilding it. So for example, if I have the word Navy, and I lose a letter, maybe 2 letters, or part of a letter, we could probably determine what that word is, right? So that's RAID 5. How many hard drives at least do we need with RAID 5? 3. That's striping with parity. Coffee.
Is it only writing or like copying one drive, or is it copying both?
To all 3, yeah. So that one file, right, would be written across 3 hard drives at least.
Like say the second drive failed, and what's the third disk doing? Like, is it copying only the second drive, or is it copying both, like the first and the second drive?
So it'd be like the file, right? Some of it's written to each of the drives. So any of the drives can fail. And because there's 2/3 of it left over, and with that error checking, it can rebuild that 3rd drive. That work for you?
Yeah.
Okay. RAID 6, same thing, but now instead of striping with parity, we have striping with double parity. With this, you need at least 4 hard drives. So now we add another hard drive. We're striping, we're writing the data across all drives. We're doing even more parity, right? Double parity. So it's doing double of the checksum error detection. So now up to 2 drives can fail, and with even more time, we can rebuild one of the drives. Hoo-yah? All right, and the last one is RAID 10, or 0 plus 1. What is RAID 0? Striping, right? So I've got a hard drive and a hard drive, some data here, some here, right? That's RAID 0. How many drives do I need for striping? 2. And then we take that RAID 0, and we add RAID 1, which is mirroring. So this is just mirrored. Mirroring needs how many drives? 2, right? So this is just mirrored. So in total, we need 4. So advantages of this: performance, capacity, and it's very reliable. Disadvantages? Well, it's mirrored. So what's the disadvantage for mirroring? Half capacity. Same disadvantage here for RAID 10. Or think of it as 0 plus 1. RAID 0 is striping. RAID 1 is mirroring. So you just take 0, minimum 2 drives, stripe, the data is fragmented, and then we just mirror that, need at least 2 drives, so that's 4 drives. Garner with us? Good? Good? There's a lot here. This would be a good to quiz each other, take notes. LaBranch?
So with RAID 10, it says the capacity is one of the advantages. Is one of the advantages. Does that mean that it's more than it would be with regular mirroring?
So here, right? Capacity is an advantage of striping. Capacity is a disadvantage of mirroring. So when we combine them, right, we have the advantage, right, of the striping capacity, and we have the disadvantage of the mirroring capacity, where this capacity isn't added. Whatever's mirrored, right, that's not added to our total capacity. But because I can write across multiple drives, it does increase my capacity for those ones. What other questions we have? This is a hard part of this chapter. You knew it was going to be. Does it make sense, though? Okay. Just break down the terms. Memorize which terms are in which RAID level.